There are many transformations in the Dragon Ball franchise, but there are some that have huge drawbacks when used. And the one I'm going to talk about is Super Saiyan Grade 2. In this transformation, the person will have an increase of power with increased strength, but will lack speed due to how big the muscles are, making it hard to have fights with speed. Subscribe for more. There are many transformations in the Dragon Ball franchise, but there are some that have huge drawbacks when used. And the one I'm going to talk about is Super Saiyan Grade 3. This transformation is similar to Grade 2 by having an increase in strength and power, to having less speed due to how big the muscles are. But this form increases the muscles even more by sacrificing speed over strength, also reducing stamina for longer fights. Form practically useless in a real fight. There are many transformations in the Dragon Ball franchise, but there are some that have huge drawbacks when used. And the one I'm going to talk about is Usaru, or Great Ape. This transformation happens on a full moon, or with an artificial moon, making the person start to transform into a huge ape. This transformation can only happen to a person with Saiyan blood, with the use of their tails as well. This transformation is hard to control for some Saiyans with pure hearts due to the Saiyan's primal being making them have less to no control of the form in it. There are many transformations in the Dragon Ball franchise, but there are some that have huge drawbacks when used. And the one I'm going to talk about is Super Saiyan 3. This is the form that drains way more stamina than any Super Saiyan form, mainly due to its massive energy consumption when used. The form is too unbalanced to be used unless in extreme circumstances. But with the use of the Saiyan's tail, it can have less drawbacks to the user. There are many transformations in the Dragon Ball franchise, but there are some that have huge drawbacks when used. And the one I'm going to talk about is Ultra Ego. This is the newest form of Vegeta that he has learned from Beerus. During the Granola arc, Vegeta changes his Kai to that of a destroyer, being able to use more powerful Hakai in this form. The problem with the form is how it's fueled, because Ultra Ego is fueled with passion for battle and bloodlust. So even though Vegeta gains power from attacks, some attacks can still bypass that and knock him out of Ultra Ego. Meaning in that form, he will most likely to take any attack head on, possibly losing a battle. There are many transformations in the Dragon Ball franchise, but there are some that have huge drawbacks when used. And the one I'm going to talk about is Great Namekian. This grants Namekians to be the size of great apes, hence the name, giving them a little more physical strength and durability due to their weight. It does not increase the user overall power level, though, as it's a bluff form. But the form is painful during the transformation. By using their regenerative abilities to concentrate on the nerves of their entire body, they can grow in sizes. The form is good against opponent of great size, but will have a little struggle against smaller opponent due to having too many weak points. There are many transformations in the Dragon Ball franchise, but there are some that have huge drawbacks when used. And the one I'm going to talk about is Kaioken, or Fist of the World King. This transformation is more of a technique than a transformation. It uses the user's Kai for a heartbeat, multiplying power, speed, hearing and vision, and also increasing durability, letting of a red aura. This is an extremely difficult technique to handle. It needs strong ki control to handle, and a very durable body for the strainful effects of the form. It constantly consumes HP, and should be used for quick finishes. There are many transformations in the Dragon Ball franchise, but there are some that have huge drawbacks when used. And the one I'm going to talk about is Unmastered Super Saiyan. In this form, the person can become 50 times more powerful than their base, with their hair spiking up and having a golden glow. This form drains the user's stamina at a faster rate, as well as cause strain after a prolonged use. So even though this is one of the Saiyan forms with less of a drawback, it's still considered a drawback. There are many transformations in the Dragon Ball franchise, but there are some that have huge drawbacks when used. And the one I'm going to talk about is Max Power. In this form, the user can be at his full power. This form only known user is Master Roshi. He can perform many of his techniques at full potential, noticeably the Kamehameha. This form makes him have an enormous increase in muscle mass and height with strength. The form was deeply flawed in the old Dragon Ball. With only one energy attack, the user would probably waste all their energy, and their movement speed slowed to an extent. So even though Master Roshi can use even more energy attacks, now his movement speed is still hindered. There are many transformations in the Dragon Ball franchise, but there are some that have huge drawbacks when used. And the one I'm going to talk about is Unmastered Perfected Blue. This form makes the user use the full potential of Super Saiyan Blue by storing the overly overflowing power of Super Saiyan Blue in the body and using it at its maximum for much longer than original Blue, overcoming the weakness. This is very detrimental to use, because with that much energy stored it could damage the user's body, or possibly even worse. Subscribe for more.